What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with a little bit of Mass Effect Andromeda news. And it is official, Mass Effect Andromeda is pretty much dead. Over the weekend here, the studio at Bioware for Mass Effect Andromeda, they have released a statement talking about, since the release of Mass Effect Andromeda, they've been working hard to address feedback from the community, trying to fix things with patches, whether it's the animations or expanding options with customization. They've been trying to fix all the concerns that people have had with the game. They've also stated that the last update, 1.10, was the final update for Mass Effect Andromeda. There are no planned future patches for single-player or in-game story content. This was rumored a couple months ago. I've been doing videos about this, how we likely were not going to see any DLC for this game after Bioware shuttered the studio that was, or EA, I'm sorry, actually shuttered the Bioware studio responsible for creating the game itself. They say in coming weeks the multiplayer team is going to continue to support the multiplayer content. They'll have new character kits and some stuff in store for In7 Day, but none of that really matters because I don't know too many people who play Mass Effect only for the multiplayer content. And I know that wasn't the case with Mass Effect 3, even though the multiplayer was really, really good. It did keep people involved with the game, but the story and the narrative and all the, the playing and spending several hours saving the universe was what was the main attraction of the game. I've never really gotten attached to Andromeda's multiplayer. It just doesn't feel as fun as Mass Effect 3's for some reason, and I just can't really seem to get into it. The gameplay is really fun and really smooth, but I just don't like the character kits, and I didn't care for the maps, and just overall, it's not a fun experience for me. Mass Effect 3, I just felt like was a much better done multiplayer. But either way, I don't think that's going to hold people's attention with Mass Effect Andromeda, and now that we know that there's no single-player DLC, no story content DLC coming, I think this game is going to die out pretty fast. There were a lot of people hanging on in hopes that we would see some DLC surrounding the Quarians, but that's obviously not going to come. And Bioware had the gall to actually mention in this update that you'll be able to see what happens to the Quarian arc in other adventures through the comic books that they're doing for Andromeda, which I think is kind of ridiculous. But this tells me that this game did not sell very well. Because Mass Effect still has a very rabid fan base. There are still people that defend this game to the death, which surprises me. There's a lot of die-hard Bioware fans who simply will not admit that this game released with many flaws and was not a very well-polished game upon release, and they just make excuse after excuse for this game. Now, I'm a huge Mass Effect fanboy, believe me. I love Mass Effect. It's probably my favorite RPG series, my favorite sci-fi series. I actually like Mass Effect more than I do Star Trek and Star Wars. I've played through the Mass Effect trilogy 5 or 6 times altogether. I've spent countless hours playing the Mass Effect games, and I absolutely love them. However, Andromeda was not released in a good state. They should have taken a few more months to polish the game. The story, the narrative was nowhere near as good as anything that came in the prior 3 games. The combat and the technical aspects of the game were mostly very well done. The combat's great, the gunplay was really good, the weapons are pretty cool, there's some really neat things you can craft, the armor looks pretty cool, but overall it just doesn't feel like a Mass Effect game, and Bioware for whatever reason couldn't capture that magic again, and they also pushed the game out way too soon with a lot of issues. Obviously the facial animations were the one a lot of people harped on, but that was just a microcosm of the problems with the game, and when your game comes out looking that bad, and it's supposed to be a AAA title for the next generation consoles and for PC, you have no one to blame but yourself. So this kind of all came on Bioware, and they really should be ashamed of what they did with this game. This game, along with No Man's Sky, are kind of, to me, the 2 big examples of why you don't push a game out before it's ready, especially when you know it's ready. And through some other articles that have come out recently, we now know that Andromeda went through quite a bit of development hell, and actually they redesigned a lot of the game's major systems and ripped out some story stuff before the game released, and only had a couple months to fix things. So overall, just a giant mess that Andromeda turned into. But this will probably be the death knell for the game. I really don't think people are going to stick around too much, given how critical a lot of people have been of the story of Andromeda. And now that we know for sure there's no DLC coming at all for this game, I don't really see much reason to continue to play it. That's really what was the worst thing about this Andromeda for this Mass Effect game for me was all the other Mass Effect games. When I've completed them, I've gone back and replayed them several times, experienced different things. It's been a completely new experience every time I've replayed the game. It's funny because the first Mass Effect, I've played that game probably 5 times through, and I still find things I miss on each playthrough. It's kind of funny, or things that open up when you get to a certain Renegade or Paragon level that you didn't get the last playthrough. With Andromeda, there doesn't feel like there's any reason to play this game again. Once you play through it one time and beat it, I mean, the story is pretty shallow. It's pretty boring. There's a few interesting side quests, and some of the loyalty missions are pretty cool and pretty fun, but overall, there's nothing keeping me in the game, nothing grabbing me, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way, and they just don't feel like wasting any more time with Mass Effect Andromeda. And, you know, again, like I mentioned, this information was kind of leaked a few months ago. There were a lot of people, a lot of the diehard fanboys who still defend Bioware were holding on hope, and they were just saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. They're not going to leak that information. There's still going to be DLC. You know, they wouldn't pass up on the DLC opportunity. And, well, now we know that it's true, and there will not be any single-player DLC or any more single-player updates for Mass Effect Andromeda. So, very interesting news, and again, I think this shows that the game did not sell very well, because Mass Effect is a moneymaker for EA, and if they're not even going to try to do any DLC for this game, it means that there's just really, really no interest whatsoever. They don't have enough information or data to back up spending more money on developing anything for this game, is pretty much what that tells me. So for Bioware, they will move on to Anthem and hopefully redeem themselves. That's a game that, when I saw it at E3, looked pretty cool, and I'm hoping it's going to deliver on its hype, but we shall see. But who knows what's going to happen with the future of Mass Effect. Right now, it's not looking too good. If the game sold so poorly, they're not even going to do DLC for it. I seriously doubt we'll see a Mass Effect Andromeda 2. You know, EA, Bioware, they did say, we hope to see you again in the Mass Effect universe, but at this point, I don't think we're going to see another entry in this series, at least not for a very long time. Unless Anthem is a very big success for Bioware, maybe they'll let that studio do another Mass Effect game. But right now, it's looking pretty bleak if you're a Mass Effect fan for seeing another game or any more improvements coming to Andromeda. And unfortunately, you'll have to finish up the story through the books and the comic books, since they're not going to be delivering any single-player DLC. Not surprising to me at all, guys, but let me know what you think down below. I was not shocked at all by this announcement, but it is kind of nice they made it official, so people don't have to guess and assume anymore. Let me know what you think about the news that came out about Mass Effect Andromeda. If you guys are still wasting your time playing this game, you know, if there's still some things that you thought redeemed themselves with Andromeda, but overall, I feel like it's probably the worst entry in the Mass Effect series by far. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you again next time.